Hey, all right. So in CSS, we have the ability to style and format our text. And that's using things like bolding and italics and underlines and all these sorts of things. And you could do all of this with CSS, and it's incredibly easy. So let's get started by creating a new HTML file called text.html in our CSS folder. And we're going to go ahead and just add that basic structure like so, and I'm just going to change the title, text formatting, CSS, and I'm going to create a new style sheet as well because the style.css has a bunch of styles that we just kind of we played around with, and I don't really want to use them. I just want to start from scratch just to dedicate this to text formatting. So create a new CSS file called stylesheet.css. And hook that in here just by making sure you change the href to stylesheet.css, and that should be all you need. And now in our body, we're going to just add some HTML, and then we're going to do some text formatting and styling with CSS. So start off by adding a level 1 heading, and we're just going to say text styling, and then some paragraph text. We'll just add some lorem ipsum, like so. And then I'm going to add a level 2 heading and just say a block quote. And a block quote in HTML looks like so. And that's for quoting something like a book or a person using a block quote. So it's bigger than just a single line quote. It's actually a block quote, a full block of quote. Hopefully that I drove that home with that point there. I'm just going to add some more lorem ipsum just for a sample block quote. There we go. And then I'm going to add some more text here, level 3 heading, and say more text styles. Go ahead and add a paragraph, and I'm just gonna put some real text in here. Some text here with extra HTML tags, such as a span tag, simple emphasis, and don't forget the strong tag. There we go. And that should be all. So if we check that out in our browser to see what it looks like, we'll have something like this, just a very basic HTML file. And now open up our stylesheet.css, and we're going to go ahead and style that up. So I'm going to add a comment up here and say text formatting with CSS. And here we go. Let's do a simple CSS reset. We'll say margin 0, padding 0, and we're going to add a bit more here. Font weight, because we're going to be doing some text formatting and styling here. So I want to remove all kind of bold and italic here with the font weight. And then font size, I want everything to be, let's go with 18 pixels. Now if I save that and check it out, we're going to look like this. It's going to look very, very plain, all same font size, no margins, no paddings, everything's all the same. That allows us to start jumping into a bit more styling here. So let's just do a little cleanup here. And we'll say padding 40 pixels on the body, font family, Georgia, times serif, and then the color, I want that to be 373737. And now we'll just check that out again. There we go. It's starting to clean up. It's looking very simple and not too bad. Now we're going to move on to a grouping selector to get our headings. Notice I got all of them there, H1 through H6. And I'm going to do some margin on those, 10 pixels on the top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. You do that like so, 10 and 0. Font family, I want this to not be a serif. I want this to be sans serif. So we're going to do some Helvetica, Arial, and sans serif as a font stack there. And now, here is we've done this before, but I'm just going to focus on it a little bit. This is some text formatting in CSS. We want to use font weight bold. And I'm going to give you a little bit of extra info here on the font weight. So you can use more than just normal and bold in font weight. You can actually use bolder and lighter. And the following values, numerical values, are equivalent to normal. So 1, 2, 3, and 400. The following numerical values are equivalent to bold, so 5, 6, and 700. And for heavier weights, 8 and 900. But keep in mind that not all fonts support these numerical values. In fact, not all fonts support all of these incremental values here. Some fonts just have normal and bold. But there are some fonts like Helvetica, I think it's Nuya, or Nui, however you pronounce it. Looks like this. Nui, Niu. I despise that font simply because of how it's spelled. Anyway, that one lets you use a light font weight like 100. So let's move down here past our group selector. And I'm going to select the level 1 heading and then give it the style font size. Let's go for 3.6M. And as we all know by this point, M's are based on the base font size of the parent selector. So this would be 3.6 times the base font size, which is 18 pixels in our case. Okay, so we'll save that and we'll check it out. There we go. We got a really big level 1 heading. Okay, let's move down. And let's select our level 2 heading. And we're going to give that the font size of 2.6M. And then a little note here. This is 2 times the base font size. And now we're going to add more. Let's add the level 3 heading. And let's go for font size 1.6M. And again, I'll just put another note. 1.6 times the base font size. And then letter spacing. This is another text formatting style that you can use, and it lets you increase or decrease the letter spacing between each letter in specific text. So we're going to make the letter spacing -1 pixels. And a quick little note on this one, the value can be normal or a numerical value. So you could just put normal and it would just be the default normal size between whatever the font says by default, or you can do pixel based here or M's or whatever. It could be a numerical value. And so let's see what that looks like. You could see here the letters are tighter together. And if you don't believe me, let's change this to something like -8 pixels, and you'll see that jammed it up like that. Let's make it something a little less crazy. There we go. So -3. Looks like this, but I'm going to put it to -1 because it's a bit more appropriate looking. And the same goes, you can make it a positive value too, like this, if you wanted to do that. Okay, and then we're going to do text indent, another indent. This is another font style you can play around with for text formatting, and that is indenting the text or the first line of a paragraph. And so I'll give you a little note here. Again, this indents the first line of the paragraph. Can be numerical value or percentage based. And let's see what that looks like. You can see here we've indented the text, the first line of the paragraph, by 80 pixels. And you could do the same with, like a paragraph is probably more appropriate where you do it like the first paragraph in a block of text, and you'd want that first line indented in, but not the rest. That's how you do that using text indent. Line height is another one that you could play around with, and we're going to make it 1.3. Now you might be wondering, what's the deal with just 1.3? Why aren't we using pixels or M's or anything like that? Well, I have a little note here on line height. Line height is how tall the lines of text are within an element. You can use a simple numerical value like 3, which will make the line height 3 times the height of the font size. So the font size in our case is 1.6 em, so 3 times the height of that, or 1.3 times the height of that would be the line height. You can also use a length, a numerical value. You can use pixels or ems, and percentages are also accepted in the value. So let's see what that looks like. See if you can tell. Well, you can see it kind of jumped down a little bit. It gave you a bit more line height. Let me make it bigger so you can see. So now the line height, this is the line that it encompasses. And so the line height is 5.3 times the font size. Let's just go back to 1.3. And you'd want to do that for like paragraphs if this line height was too tight or you wanted it more breathing space in between each line. That's where you could do that. It's kind of the equivalent of doing like double spacing when you're writing a paper or something like that. You want to have the lines double spaced. That's kind of the way you'd achieve it in CSS. Okay. Now let's go ahead and style that span tag that we had in our HTML. And we're going to do a couple things here. Let's do text decoration, and we'll do line through. Text decoration lets you do a number of different things, but I'll show you what this looks like first. The span tag has a line through. And so I have another note here for you on text decoration. You may use the following values for text decoration: underline, overline, line through, and none. And underlines are usually best left for links only. So if you wanted to underline something, it's probably best to use a different form of emphasis, like italic or bold or a different color, because underlines are default for links, and it's best practice, and it's very common practice actually, to see a link be underlined. So if you underlined something like so, people might be confused that this is a link and not know why it's not working. So that's the reason behind that. So we'll just stick with line through for now. And now we're going to play around with the em tag, the emphasis tag, and we're going to do a text transform, and we're going to capitalize. And what that does is capitalizes the first letter in each word that you are styling. And so here you could see simple emphasis is capitalized. The first letters are capitalized. And you could do that with any text, any element. You could do it with the whole website. You could do it with just one single word. And you'd want to do that if you, if for some reason you wanted to capitalize those letters. And I have a note here, again, on the text transform. You may use the following values. You can use uppercase, lowercase, capitalize, and none. So uppercase does all letters are uppercase. Lowercase is all letters being lowercase. Capitalized we already have. And none is if you wanted to reset it for some reason, something was text transformed. Say body was text transformed to capitalized, but you wanted the em tags to be none. And that's what that would do. It would override that value and set it to just the default non-capitalized text transform. Let's style that strong tag. Give it text transform uppercase, and let's just go font weight bold. So this is what that would look like. You can see it's been uppercased and now it's bold. So it's now all the strong tags will look like that. And so there is a good little lesson on the text formatting with CSS. There's lots of different things you could do, like font weight, font size. You could do font families. You could do letter spacing, line height, text indent. You can do some text decoration, text transform. And yeah, those are a bunch of things that you would want to use in your CSS. And if you had a designer working with you, or you designed your own site and you designed something in Photoshop that is using some text formatting, you can easily achieve that in CSS.